we begin? We're all looking for the promised land. And in the end, we just need someone to hold our hand.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Everyone's Addicted. Today's guest, Vernon, has graciously come on to share his experience and his knowledge with addiction and mental health. So I am going to let him take it away and tell us about himself. So welcome, Vernon, and it's nice to meet you.
I appreciate it. I'm great to be here. Really, truly a blessing to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for
Um,
coming on and being open to do
yeah,
this.
yeah, no doubt. Yeah, my story it started. I was very young when I first started drinking. I'm the youngest of five brothers, one
Mm,
sister, and yeah, I was in the seventh grade when I first started drinking. I was real good in academics. I mean, I was fairly smart, caught on pretty fast, real good in sports, but just started messing with drinking. Looking back now, I could see I
I,
was going through a. Go
I
ahead.
started drinking at the same age, so I get it. Um,
Right.
it's I used to steal beers and hide them under like the bed and then take them and drink them. And like it's the same thing. Like, you're going
Yeah.
through a lot, it takes that away. But anyway, sorry to cut you off. I was just saying
Oh no, no, that's
I
all right.
started at the
Yeah.
same age too, so I totally understand. Drinking at a
Yeah.
young age, smoking weed at a young age.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I used to just hang out with my friends, and then I used to hang with, believe it or not, a wino, because at that age you can't drink. I was drinking beer, and I was drinking MD 2020 Wild Hours Irish Rose, and but I used to go down to, like, we had, like, and in our community had, like, this railroad track, and that's where all the hobos, we call them hobos. It was homeless people. We
Yeah,
call
yeah.
them hobos. Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
And I remember I went to one of, his name was Smitty, old man Smitty, and I asked Smitty to cop me something to drink, and he had heard about me. He said, what a guy like you at a very young age doing down here drinking, and I was real rebellious. Yeah, I'm like, don't worry about that. Just give me something to
don't
drink.
worry.
But yeah, yeah. But I remember he told me, he said one day, 'cause I was living a double life. He said one
Mm-hmm.
day those lives gonna run into each other. And believe it or not, years later, it happened. You got any experience like that?
Yep. I had my dad and I used to drink together when my mom left because that's where my drinking got really out of control. And my dad and I would enable each other, right? And then he had a
Mm-hmm.
heart attack due to drinking, and he told me the same thing. And he hated my drinking because congestive heart failure runs in our family, and he sped up the process with drinking. And he said this basically the same thing, like one day you're going to like basically you're going to see how much better, because he said once he'd stopped drinking and smoking weed, life
Mm-hmm.
just became so much better for him in his mind. Like, so he said
Yeah.
to me basically that once you stop, you're going to see how much better and easier to manage life is. So yeah, I've had that similar kind of experience. It came from a parent that was enabling me, that stopped enabling me, but
Yeah.
it's still, yeah. And the way that I used to get booze was I used to wear
Mm-hmm.
like really provocative clothing and stand in front of the liquor store and wait for men to come up and go up to them and be like, will you buy me some coolers? I have like this amount of money. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Right.
had my
Hey.
ways too.
Hey, what I was about to say, hey, we did what we had to do. Yeah, and I began to drink, but I was still, like I said, I was still what they call, you probably heard it before, Jasmine. I was a coping, right,
Hmm.
alcoholic, right? I knew something was wrong, though. I knew something was wrong because I was young and I was drinking with some guys older than me, but they was, getting drunk and passing out, and I was younger than them. And I'm like, what's going on? But then later on I started blacking out, right? Because
I
it progressed. It
I
progresses.
had I when I drink, I blacked out every single time, and it
Mm,
led to huge anxiety problems because I didn't know what I did, and that was like horrible. Like, the feeling of not knowing what you did, and then having to
oh,
back. Oh, and then you hear from other
yeah.
people what you did, and you're like, sorry.
Oh. Oh yeah. Oh those. Oh yeah. I mean, there was times I had friends knock on my door, and I'd have woke up. Be honest with you, blood all on me, and I had friends walk up, the next day, like, why you do that? Why, I'd have beat somebody. I don't
Mhm.
remember about it. They say the way they talk, like I was stumping the guy. He was already unconscious. So yeah, I remember. But the thing too, what I didn't like as I began, progress and I got older is driving, right? Because like drinking and driving was the norm to me. Because that's again, I'm the
Yep.
youngest, and that's what my brothers did. So I did what they did,
I did the
and
same thing, and I hit it.
yeah,
I got a DUI. I ran into a, what is it, tractor trailer, like an 18
mm,
wheeler. Um,
mm-hmm,
and so I got a DUI as well, which planted that seed that I had a problem, but I wasn't ready to take the steps yet. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and so what I did, 'cause I had an older brother, right?
Mm,
He was an alcoholic too. So I went to him one time because this is when I started begin to think, so maybe there's something wrong, wrong with me. And I went to him and I said, "Hey man, I think I have a drinking problem." And at that time, I had a Lincoln Town car, I had a good job, I had jewelry, right? And
You were
I
a
went to him.
functioning alcoholic opposed to me who was non-functional at all. No.
Right, and that's what I come to find out. And but he looked at me. He said, "You're not an alcoholic." I said, "I'm not." He said, "No." I said, "Why you say that?" He said, "First of all, alcoholic ain't gonna be driving no town car. He ain't gonna be having all that jewelry and all that money you got. If you was a real
Mhm.
alcoholic, you wouldn't have all that." Right? But they taught me that years later in recovery, because I do go to a 12-step program. In
Yeah,
recovery, they taught me that we got misinformed information, right? But just because a person doesn't lose everything doesn't mean he's not an addict or alcoholic.
exactly. See, I was
Yeah.
non-functional, so like, I mean, I one time peed my pants and went into the liquor store and they still sold me alcohol. Like, I was just a fucking train wreck. So
Mm.
I was not functional, but I when I first went into a 12-step program at 24, they were like, they explained to me that exact thing. There's functional alcoholics, there's non-functional alcoholics, there's binge drinkers, and they're all under the same scope of having a problem with alcohol, you know?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I just kept going and drinking and then the ex-wife, my first wife, right? She asked me one time. She said, why you drink every time you drink? You get drunk, right? And I remember my response was, there's no reason to drink. The only reason I'm drinking is to get drunk.
Yep.
Again, that distorted thinking, right?
I never
What?
just drank. If I was drinking, it was to get drunk. It was never two drinks ever. Even and it was like I never even had the intention of, oh, I'm only gonna have two drinks. It was like
Right,
I planned my like schedule with work around my drinking because I knew I was gonna get drunk.
right. Yeah, yeah. And again, I didn't. Again, after talking to my brother years before then, I really didn't think I had a problem, even though all the signs was there. I go play basketball. And again, after we play basketball, what we do, we drink. But I drink all the way until, I drink until it's all gone. And a lot
Yep.
of other guys, they didn't. They stopped. That's enough for me. That's not my story. I want to drink, get some more drink, and keep drinking, you know. And and then this other thing came out, something stronger, right? Crack cocaine came out. Now, I started dipping with that, and that's when it was all downhill. Okay, that it was over after that one. You know,
Yeah.
once I took a hit of that, it was over, right? And so I hit bottom. And when I hit bottom, I just asked God to help me. I remember my mother told me, she said, Vernon, no matter what goes on in your life, no matter what happens to you, who don't accept you, you know, God's gonna always hear you. And I was just, you know, I was on like a 3 or 4 day binge. Okay,
Yeah.
I was like and I just remember saying, God help me. And I ended up, I was up about 3 days, right? And I fell asleep. I slept a couple of days. Then I woke up, and that's when the process of recovery. So it headed me back to recovery.
Well, I believe that even now, like whenever anything is not like if I'm struggling in my life, I always
Mm-hmm.
ask God to show me what I should do. Like, can you guide me? Please, like, help me see what I need to do to make things better. What path should I take? And
Yeah.
God has really played a huge part in my sobriety and staying sober. Just like you
Mm-hmm.
said, it's like when you get to that point where you ask God for help, that is basically the first step in the 12 steps. It basically,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
admitting it, accepting it, and giving it to God, you know? And yeah, I like
Yeah.
that saying too, give it to God when things are tough, you know? And so I
Right.
think that's amazing because like I dipped into the opiates and fentanyl and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's that's where I finally got sober too, is a rock bottom with fentanyl, and my spouse had 3 heart attacks, and I
Mm-hmm.
decided to get sober off of the drugs then too, right? And
Right.
it was all like my husband shouldn't have lived, right? Like they were called the Widowmaker heart attacks, and it was, I swear, from prayer from me to begging like for his life. And
Mm-hmm.
I think even from myself, like I remember, like, do you remember when like the first time you take a step to actually get sober and you actually want it? It's
Yeah.
like you're mangled, like you're in
Yeah.
withdrawals, your whole brain's a mess, and then you
Oh.
finally give up. You know, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is too, I still was in denial, right? Even though I hit rock bottom, I still was in denial because I didn't want to, I was, and it's funny, we talking now. I just, was talking to my sponsor yesterday, and I just didn't want to surrender, even though I say I had made a mess of my life because I really didn't want to call myself an addict.
Yeah.
I'm in this meeting. It took me for everything. Everything in my soul to admit that I was an addict. I said, my name Vernon. I got issues. My name Vernon. I got problems. My name
Well,
Vernon. I wasn't gonna call myself no addict. Go ahead.
Well, I go to a 12-step program called Celebrate Recovery, and it
Okay.
is a religious based program, but you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to be an addict. You could be somebody that's coming in that has been struggling with anxiety. So you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to label yourself as an alcoholic. And that is, I think, why so many people like that program, because you don't have to label yourself, right? And I
Right.
think that's why a lot of people like don't want to get sober, because like you said, they don't want to have the label of addict, right?
Right.
But
Right.
that label is sometimes what keeps you in check. I mean, it does for
Yeah.
me.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, no doubt. I actually also go to Celebrate Recovery. Now, in fact,
Oh,
we have a church. I'm one of the leaders, right? Pastor a long time ago. He heard my story. He asked me and introduced me to it. And yeah, so I go to Celebrate Recovery too. And one thing I do like about Celebrate Recovery is the fact that they celebrate recovery. They
Mm-hmm.
talk about the wins. They talk about the hope a lot. You know, 'cause when I was in the Salvation Army, because I did go, to a treatment too. And I remember this one guy was in there with me, and he said, man, I don't have nothing against AA. He said, V, I don't have nothing against NA. And we was out there, all smoking cigarettes at the time. I was out there standing with smoking. He said, but it seems like sometimes when I go to AA or NA, it seems like they always just want to focus on the bad part. That you very seldom
Yes.
hear people talk about the good stuff, man. We trying to live now. And to be honest with you, I totally understood what he was talking about.
Well, that's what, like, that was my experience with AA, was the fact that I was, you're always talking about the past. It's almost like everybody's just trying to one up each other on who has the worst drinking stories, you know what I mean?
Right,
When
right,
we're
right,
really not focusing on hope and the good and the fact that there is, like, it's very uplifting, you know what I mean? Like,
right,
when
right.
my daughter's father's mom is a leader at a CR, and that's what
Okay.
introduced it to me. And I
Hmm.
was like, I bring my friend with me because he was the same with AA, and we were both like, this program is amazing. And I also like that the men and the women are separated, because,
Yeah.
like, especially for men, it's really hard to talk about something bad in front of a group of women. They don't want to. And they always
Right,
say that
right.
men never really get to express themselves. Well, in those meetings, they actually do. And I like that too, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's why I like Celebrate Recovery. And I think it's so cool that you go too, because I don't, I talked to a lot of people, and you're probably one of the only other ones I've met that like goes through that program. So you understand what I mean when I
Oh
say that
yeah.
it's such a uplifting, like, even if you aren't religious, you're gonna
Hmm.
walk out of there feeling uplifted, opposed to feeling, I don't know, like you just told the
Yeah.
same story 5 times. You know what I mean?
Right, right, right. It's very uplifting, encouraging. Even the music part, right?
Oh, I
Yeah,
love the music part.
yeah, yeah. That's one thing I
I
do.
can't
I
sing.
do.
I can't sing for crap, and I didn't know my friend had a good voice, and we
Yeah.
sing along with the songs, and he started singing, and I'm like, I've known you for 20 years, and I did not know you could sing like that.
They were blowing, huh? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
how long has it been for you now with sobriety?
Oh, over 15 years.
Oh, congratulations.
Oh yeah, yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. Like I say, it was a journey, and so I finally surrendered, right? Because I kept trying to do recovery my way. I
Yeah,
kept,
you
I
can't.
go
I
in
do
there,
the
I get
same
a
thing.
little enough information, then I say, well, I get it. I can figure it out. But I tried switching drugs. I tried to get high certain times. It didn't matter. I just, again, I didn't know I had this thing called the disease. I didn't know I was an addict. So I finally surrendered, right? And then when I surrendered, I just started letting other people help me. Really, they just started helping me. And then I found my wife today in recovery, right? And that really was a blessing. Because remember, I don't know if you ever heard they say, in the first year, don't get no
Well,
relationship, right? You ever heard
I
that?
well, yeah, and they also call it 13 stepping, and that's why AA was not successful for me, because I was only 24, so I was young, and I met
Yeah.
a guy in there, and I was sober for 3 years
Hmm.
while dating him, and then when he dumped me, I wasn't using the program properly. I was just going there to spend time with him. So it wasn't like
Okay.
I was trying to take in what they were saying to me. I was trying to look pretty and get his attention and
Right.
whatever. And then when I kind of basically ended things with me, I went right back out there, and then that's when I found the opiates and stuff like that, right? So
Yeah.
I didn't get
Okay.
it right away either. It took me a long time to surrender as well. And I used AA as a dating program. I'm really glad it worked out for you. And I'm happy
Yeah.
because I've seen a lot of people where it does, because she understands you. You don't have to sit there and explain to somebody why you can't have a drink, or, because that's always
Right.
really difficult dating in sobriety, when you have to meet new people and explain that stuff. So it's really great
Right.
that you have somebody that understands and can also support you, and you can support them when things get tough. I think that's awesome.
Right. Right, that is, and it's funny you say that. My mother actually said the same thing. She said, 'cause I had told her, me and my wife, what I'm saying, met, like that. She said, well, that mean y'all really know each other, and it
Hmm.
kind of threw me off. And as I go through this life with her, like I said, I've been with her when I first got introduced to the 12 step. I met my wife, so this whole journey, me and her been together, right?
And
And
that's
yeah.
amazing, because you've been able to have that person to go on the journey with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
That that is, I feel like, the best support you could find.
it is. I mean, looking back now, right? Okay, looking back, it is. But there's two there's two sides to this. You know what I'm saying? I got defects, and she has defects. And when her defects
Mm.
is active and mine is active, she'll tell you. We could tear up some stuff. We would mess this whole world up. But the thing is, she have a program, and I tell her all the time. I said, look. I admire your recovery, and I do. I really admire her recovery. And but when you got two people working on themselves, that's the blessing.
Hmm.
Because no matter what we go through, eventually she gonna go to her neutral corner. I'm gonna go to mine. She gonna talk to her God. I'm gonna talk to mine. She gonna call her sponsor. I'm gonna call. You get me? Yeah,
Yeah.
but it took us a while to get there. But yeah, she had been truly a blessing. But and to get back when they say don't get into a relationship, um, I wasn't really trying to hear that, right? In the beginning, because I mean, you might could tell me about the 12 steps. You might could tell me about the disease of addiction when I was, first got the recovery. But you ain't about to tell me what woman to be with. That ain't about
No,
to
and
happen,
you
bro.
know what? I feel like God brought you guys together for a reason, like with
Okay.
me, it was like, with my husband now, we were doing
Mm-hmm.
opiates together, and we both got sober. And like you said, it is such a blessing, because like, he had the heart attack, so he got sober a little bit before me. So we had children. So while I was going through the withdrawals in the beginning stages of my sobriety, he already had sober time, and he was able to look after the children, because I had to lock myself in a room so that I wouldn't answer phone calls. I also felt like death because of the withdrawals, and he was able to take care of the household while I was healing, because he had already healed. So, like you said, he had
Mm-hmm.
his program, I had mine. But like you said, the character defects, when they come out, they come
Yeah.
out. But it's
Right.
definitely, like, if I ever wanted to use, he'd be the first person I would go to talk about it with, right? Like, I have that,
Yeah.
like,
That's awesome.
so I understand
Yeah.
what you mean with your wife. Like, if you have that person, I feel like it is really rewarding because of that.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a, not rewarding, but like a blessing from God. Like, he
Yeah.
put you together for a reason. So even though they say don't date in the first year, that
Right.
that relates to some people. I think everybody's
Right.
unique. So with you
Yeah.
guys, it worked out. With me, it didn't. But that's just because everybody's story and journey is unique. So it's
It's different. Right.
not fair to say don't date within the first year, because look at what happened with you, right?
Right. And that's where I was headed. Because me and my wife were just talking about it. Cause I mean, she's my best friend now, right? But and I even mentioned this to her. I said, you know, they said don't date in the first year. I said, but do you really think you and I would be this close if we didn't go through what we went through? She said, I know we wouldn't. So basically, even though we struggled in the beginning, you know, she struggled with hers, I struggled with mine, we struggled with blended families. You know, people don't talk about that a lot. She had
Oh,
three
yeah.
kids, I had three kids, we blended families now. And we got through all that, right? And but through the process on the other side, now we, like I said, she my best friend, but we had to go through some stuff because a lot of people look at me and my wife and we act silly. They can see how close we are. And you know, I
Hmm.
had some guys in recovery say, "Man, I want a wife like yours." I said, "Bruh, if you only knew, bro, if you only knew, yeah." But it takes
Yeah.
some work. What I'm getting at, it takes some work. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And like, even with me and my husband, like, we like, he switched addictions and started gambling, and got into gambling addiction, and now he's not gambling anymore, but people are always like, oh, you should have left him, you should leave him, this and that, and I'm like, you don't understand the closest that we have. I understand addiction. I understand that he wasn't working his program and he slipped into this, and it's not like I'm going to chastise him and leave him because of an addiction, because he did get help for that and stopped. And also,
Mm-hmm.
I understand addiction, and I'm not going to leave somebody who needs help that I
All right.
love, so they're like, I find
Mm-hmm.
that people don't understand these types of relationships because they haven't been through it. And same with me with the blended family, where he took over as the father figure for my daughter because her father's out on the streets and we don't see him, right? So it was like she had to get used to a new dad. And then now she doesn't even like, she calls her dad Daddy J, and she calls my husband dad. So it
Mm-hmm.
ended up blending, and we had a child together later on. So
Yeah.
I totally get how there's just so many intricacies and so much
Right.
emotional, especially at the if you're both at the beginning and you recover together. And it's just such a journey. You're right.
Yeah. It's a journey, and yeah, but it's one of those type of journey, you know, that like I say, it's worth it if you put the work into it, you know. But the key to it, to let me tell it, the key to you talking about the recovery part is looking at you, right? Because
Mm,
you know, in the beginning, I thought my wife was the fault, my issue. In the beginning, I thought my past was the issue, and in the beginning, I thought, to be honest with you, I thought drugs was my problem. And then I started doing some, you know, you never heard of them, the 12 steps. I started working on me, and then come to find out I have a me problem. I have a
yeah.
problem with me.
Yep.
And that's where my journey started to healing began. Looking at me doing the 12 steps. You got some experience with the 12 steps?
Yeah. And that's the same thing, especially when you do the fourth step, you really see all that stuff. And I think that that opens the door to being able to find the root cause of why you were looking to cope and escape and numb and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
12 steps opens the door, especially the fourth step, to really seeing what your character defects are and being able to get help for them if you need, and heal from them, I guess you could say, and
Yeah.
like i I find, even like, I was bullied really badly in high school and by this
Mm-hmm.
one specific girl. And one day I used to read tarot cards professionally, and she sat at my table. And if I hadn't gone through the 12 steps and learned forgiveness and stuff like that, I
Mm-hmm.
I was still, that part of me of the being bullied still affected me. She sat
Mm-hmm.
down and she apologized to me, and I let it go. And it really, really changed my life. Now, if I had never gone through the 12 steps, I would have still held that resentment, and I probably wouldn't even have accepted her apology. But
Yeah.
I had to apologize during the fifth step to so many people myself that I realized how to accept her apology and how to understand it, you know?
Yeah. 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 That fourth step, that's a doozy right there. That because my fourth step experience, I never really looked at me. You
Mm.
know, prior to recovery, prior to the fourth step, I never ever looked at me. And the
I didn't
thing
really.
about it, go ahead.
Oh, I said I didn't really either, so I get you on
Yeah. Yeah, I ain't had no experience looking at me. And the thing about it, the steps, they go so deep. You know, I'm sitting here in recovery. I'm thinking I have a drug problem. Now I'm doing these steps, and the spirit is leading me back to when I was a kid. And I just told you, I I started in the seventh grade. Now I'm beginning to understand why. Right? I grew up without a father. I didn't know I was bitter over that. I didn't know I felt abandoned. I didn't know how hurt I was until I got into the treatment center and my counselor said, when you go back to your room, write on growing up without a father. And I have been denial ever since. I thought I had no problem. And I went back to my room and I started writing and I just started just crying. All these feelings that I had been suppressing all this time was up under all that anger that I was had, all that drinking. You was talking about escaping, covering up that pain. So I was a hurt little kid, didn't even know it.
That's, you know, how many people I hear say that is when they get to that part is that they were really just a hurt little kid from whatever traumas they experienced in the past. But that,
Hmm.
but you're able, that's the blessing is that I say people who have addictions that come into recovery and are able to see their character defects are blessed because we're able to see why we feel the way we do and we're
Yeah,
able to work on it and work on our character defects and instead of just going through life never ever looking at yourself, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Blessed
yeah.
to be able to look at ourselves, and that's what I think is the one good thing that comes out of addiction and recovery is that we are able to look at ourselves and help ourselves instead of going through life never looking at it yourself. And there's a lot of people who
Right.
do that. And there's a lot of angry, bitter people in this world because of that.
Because of that. Yeah. And then being able to forgive yourself, right? Being able to learn how to be all right with yourself, you know, and most importantly, through the 12 step was this higher power part, right? Again, looking back, even though I was an active addiction, even though I was doing a lot of stuff, blacking out, doing all type of crazy stuff, you know, I was sharing this with my sponsor yesterday. I look back, I can see that I had a loving higher power, even way back then. He was protecting me and guiding me. And what I'm getting at, I don't look at this, me being on your podcast, your TV show right here, as a coincidence. This ain't no coincidence, you know. This is part of his will for me is to get clean, stay clean, and be able to get back. So that's the part that I love, the part that the internal work it causes me to go from being self-centered, right? Because that's all I was. I was totally self-centered before I first came to recovery. Now I'm more compassionate, empathy, and want to freely give it away. I want to help anybody I can based on my experience.
So then I do too. That's why I do the podcast. But what are you doing now? Like what do you like I you said earlier you had a website, so I'm just intrigued to know what you're working on now.
Right now, I have me a podcast. My website is sickandtiredrecovery.com. I got my own coaching.
Because the sick and
Hmm?
tired of being sick and tired. I love that name. Sorry.
Yeah. Sickandtiredrecovery.com. I got my own coaching company,
Oh,
Sick and
that's
Tired
awesome.
LLC. And you can find me on all platforms like that. What I'm doing right now, back in the during the pandemic, right? You know, everybody was locked in. That's when I started my own coaching company,
A
right?
lot of
I
people
just,
needed it then too.
yeah. People was reaching out to me. you know, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I've been coaching ever since then, you know. And what I had learned during that process is that what I really learned that a lot of people outside of recovery want what you and I have. You know, that the stuff me and you talking about, this is a gift to be able to
Hmm.
look at ourselves, to have a worldwide fellowship. Because me and you, because I'm in recovery. That's why I tell people. That's why I go to. You might see me in Celebrate Recovery, NAAA. I might go to codependency. I'm in recovery, right? So it's a worldwide fellowship, worldwide. And to be loved, I can go anywhere and just raise my hand and they'll love on me. But there's a lot of people out there who wants what we have, who want to be able to forgive themselves, forgive their parents, live with, be able to accept the mistakes they made. So I say all that to say a lot of people, even though I say I'm a life coach, recovery coach, majority of my clients are regular people. They ain't even, they just want help with
Yeah.
life. Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
I was, yeah, that's what I mean by like a lot of people go through life with all these resentments and stuff and don't look at themselves. And that's where they come to you and you're able to like break it down for them and show them
yeah,
what is like going on with them, and that's
right,
amazing. And I think everybody is recovering from something because everybody has had some form of trauma in their life, right? So
right,
you can't
right.
really say it's just addiction that people or mental health that issues that people have to recover from. I think everybody has to recover from something that's
Yeah,
happened to them because nobody's had a perfect life their whole life. So
exactly.
they
Mm-hmm.
need people like you to be able to kind of show them how to, look at themselves. And then that's the
Yeah.
beginning. And a lot of people just don't know how to do that.
Right, right. A whole lot of people don't. And when
You
you
know
say
that better
everybody,
than anybody, right?
oh, it took me a minute. It took me a minute, but again, I was around people who knew how to look at themselves. And you keep being around people who keep the focus on themselves. You remember, because it's normal for people to come to recovery or reach out to a life coach, recovery coach to have all these stories and focus on their past, focus on a relationship, but you slowly bring them down, bring them around to themselves because remember, it starts and it ends with you. And I believe, what you just said about everybody recovering from something, I've been saying, that's why I laughed a little bit. I've been saying that for years. Everybody's recovering from something. You just got to find out, what you're recovering from.
Hmm. And that is so true, right? Because it's like for addicts, well, I feel like it's why I say everybody's addicted because everybody finds something if they haven't come to find like a recovery, if they haven't been able to look at themselves, everybody finds
Mm,
something to escape, like even if it's video games,
yeah,
working out, like everybody needs an escape because they don't have the tools to cope, the understanding of why they feel this way. And so coming
yeah,
to a recovery program or a coach is extremely beneficial because then you're learning how to cope with your trauma. You're getting tools on how to actually deal with life instead of escaping from life.
yeah. That you just summed it up. That's exactly what it is. And then when life shows up, you don't you don't run no more. You don't escape. You learn how to feel and deal, right? You know what
I
I'm saying?
like that. I'm going to
Yeah,
use that. You learn how to feel and deal.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it. You learn how to feel and deal because it's gonna pass, right? It's gonna pass. But if you put something on top of it, that escape, that drugs, gambling. 'Cause remember, we struggle with me. I struggle with addiction, so it don't matter. It don't have to be no. Remember, I started off with drinking, then I went to hard stuff. But just because I'm clean it can manifest itself to something else. It can turn into
Exactly.
pornography. I can start going down there on the boat. Next thing I know, My wife like, where you been? I'm on the boat all the time. Now the money going up because of addiction. It can be, watch this, it can be social media. Addiction don't care what it is.
Nope.
It just wants you to stay away from your loved ones. It wants you to stay away from you. It just
Wants you to
want to
stay
kill, steal,
sick.
and go ahead.
Oh, it just
It
wants
wants you
you to
what?
stay sick, you know,
Yeah,
and
it wants you to stay sick. Yeah,
I
yeah,
totally get that. And that's why I like that you don't say, "Oh, I'm just an addictions coach. I'm a life coach," because like we've both said, I don't think that it's just addicts that need help. And so being
yeah,
able to talk to somebody like you who has had 15 years of sobriety, learned so much throughout that, you're like a beacon of help, you know, like you have
yeah.
all of
Thank you.
this and you can guide them and really like save lives realistically, because like people
Right,
don't realize how deep their traumas are, and their mental health can really go sideways if they don't like come and deal with
yeah,
these things, right?
right. And that's why a lot of people reach out to me. You know, they read my bio and they tell me, they say, you done been through some stuff, you know, and they wanna talk to people who done been through some stuff. They not
Because
just school. I went through the streets. So when they
that
sharing, they're like, oh, this dude totally understand what I'm talking about. Yeah, I've been there, you know.
Well, I would rather come to somebody like you who understands me than go to a counselor who is
Right,
just giving me um, textbook information. But and then I put my wall up because I'm like, you don't understand what I mean. You don't, you know what I mean? But with you,
yeah,
it's
I
like the
hear that
wall
a
comes
lot.
down because you've been there. I don't feel like I'm afraid to tell you something. You know what I mean? Because
Right,
you've been
right,
there too, right? So I
yeah,
feel like
yeah,
that's why people are looking for people like you opposed to going to a counselor, because you, like you said, you come from the knowledge of the streets, not the knowledge of the textbook. And the knowledge of the
right.
streets is more powerful than the knowledge of the textbook, I think.
Yeah, yeah, because again, because people can relate. They know you done lived it. They know what I'm sharing my. So I share my little bit. They like, okay, this guy, he messed up like me.
If he can do it, I can do it, right?
Yeah, yeah, there you go. And we can relate. Yeah, that's what this
Mm-hmm.
thing is all about, giving back to the still suffering addict. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I think that you're so right. Like, and I've always said this too, because I've never been able to connect with a counselor, but yet I'll go to a meeting or talk to my old, I don't have a sponsor right now, but my old sponsor, or even my friend who we kind of lift each other up through our recovery. We've known each other since we were 5. So like
Mhm.
he'll send me Bible verses in the morning, and I'll send him Bible verses, and we like to listen to Bible verses in the morning to go into our day in a positive manner, is kind of the way we do
Mhm.
it. And because we both have been through things, we I can openly speak with him. You know what I mean? I don't feel
Yeah.
like if I like a friend that hasn't another friend I have who doesn't have any addiction problems, or she doesn't really look at herself, doesn't really try to work on herself. I can't really, but like I'll try to have conversations that are about these kinds of things, but she's still stuck in her own, like she hasn't realized that she needs to look at herself and dig
Yeah.
deeper, and you know what I mean? Like look at her character
Mhm.
defects and try to fix herself. She's still in that cycle of
Yeah.
um I wouldn't say addiction per se, but she's still in that cycle of not looking at herself and instead blaming everybody else, and victim
Yeah.
mentality opposed to realizing it's a me problem.
Yeah, yeah, but that that takes some time. I mean, me and you could talk about it because we're in recovery. But as you said, looking back, it took me a minute to get there, and that's the benefit, of people like you and I that's in recovery. We understand.
Hmm.
See, so if we dealing with people that's in denial, dealing with people it's hard to look at self. Because let's keep it real, it's real hard to look at self.
Oh
And
yeah.
that alone is just totally against our natural ability, our natural instincts. What I'm saying, but they give us the empathy and the compassion to be patient with people, because
Hmm.
we know that it takes a while to start looking at yourself.
It really does. Like it really, really does. Like I'm thinking back on it and like until I got a mental health assessment done, I never really looked at myself. And once I had this like assessment done, I realized what my character defects really were and where the root causes came from. And it was very helpful to heal. And then I was able to go into the program and do the fourth step because I was accepting now of my addictions and my character defects. And
Yeah,
that's the thing about the fourth step is that's the hardest step and it's the most important step because that's where the real healing begins, I think.
that's where, right? Yeah, that's where it begins. Yeah.
And so with your coaching business, do you and your wife work together or do you just do it yourself?
I do it myself. Yeah, I do it myself right now. Maybe later on she can come help out. But I know she said she wanna come on my podcast, so I'm gonna bring her on the podcast, and I guess think we're gonna talk a little bit about relationships
See,
and
that'd be
recovery.
beneficial for sure. People would definitely
Yeah.
resonate with that.
Yeah. So and I got the podcast, and again, you can all platforms, Sick and Tired Recovery. I'm on TikTok, Instagram. I got a Facebook page, Sick and Tired Recovery. So if people want to reach out to me, I'd be more than welcome to help them.
Well, that's a like you're such a blessing of a person. You know what I mean? Like
Thank you.
just because you have such understanding and such empathy and patience that you're I guarantee you've helped probably everybody that you've dealt with because of that, because I know some people don't have that humble approach and that patience and that empathy even if they have been through like my first sponsor, for instance,
Hmm.
she couldn't look at herself, so she really shouldn't have been sponsoring people, and it
Hmm.
was a very negative experience. Where with you can look at yourself, you have, and you can help others do that. Where she wasn't able to help me do that because she couldn't do it herself. So not
Yeah.
everybody in recovery has that ability like you do. So I think
Thank
that
you.
that's so great. And so you have the podcast and you have the coaching, and so the
Hmm.
coaching is the website, right? And what was the website again?
SickandTiredRecovery.com.
And that's the
Hmm.
coaching, right? And then
Yeah, that's a coaching, and they all together. Like I got it's a website. Yeah, you can contact me for coaching on there. But also my podcast is on there and my blog. They all together. So if you mess around with it, you can
yeah,
find it. But yeah, it's mainly my podcast, my coaching, and my blog.
I think that's cool. You do a blog on it. I never thought to do that on my website, but I
Hmm.
think that if people are following you, they want to know about you too, right? Like
Yeah.
they, you know what I mean? Especially like if with your bio, you can only really say so much. So having a blog kind of talking about yourself is really beneficial, especially if people haven't heard your podcast or
Yeah.
haven't, or they just maybe seen a TikTok and they're like, oh, I want to see,
Hmm.
I want to. I want to like
Yeah.
see what he's about, and then you read the blog too. I think that is a really crucial part, and I never thought to do that, but I think that's very crucial for people if they're wanting
Yeah.
coaching, because they can kind of see your life too, and they will be like, oh, okay, yeah, this guy gets it.
Right, right, exactly. I think that's exactly how they look at it too, because the blessing, right? The blessing, like, but with you and I talking about the stuff we done been through, right?
Mhm.
Now we get our way here, and God say, "Here's what I want you to do: help other people based on your experience." That's it. I don't have to go, I've been through enough. God said, I've been through enough. Look, you've been through enough, guy. All I want you to do is just share people. You don't got to try to fix them. You don't got to
Yeah,
try to make them see it your way. All I want you to do, Vernon, is share your experience, strength, and hope. That's it. That's it. And it's because it ain't my responsibility for people to get it, right?
yeah,
My job is to carry the message. I don't carry the addict. I share this with you on your podcast. Now, some people are gonna hear this, they're gonna see it. Some of them are gonna reach out. Some of them like, nah, I ain't ready for that. But that's not my responsibility. My responsibility, recovering person, is just to share my experience. And whoever get it, get it. And leave the rest to God, as they like to say. Just leave the results to God.
I love that, because you're not putting that responsibility of saving them on yourself. You know what I mean? And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are people pleasers, so they feel like that's their job to make the person get it and see it their way. And
Yeah.
I love like your approach to it, as well as not to make anybody see anything your way. You're just sharing the message, and that is truly what is what you need to do, because otherwise you're going to be like me and be a people pleaser and try to fix everybody, and then you're just
Right.
going to feel discouraged, when really all it's not your responsibility, because it's a me problem for them
Right.
too. And if they don't want to look at themselves, that's them. But at least they got to hear your message, and at least you got to maybe plant a seed if they're not ready yet.
There
So
you
I
go.
love
There you
that
go.
approach. I'm glad you said that, because I just know from my own perspective, I always try to fix people.
Okay.
Like what I do on the side is I show people all the different methods that aren't really given by clinicians. And when people
Mm-hmm.
contact me and I give them like give them resources and I try to guide them and stuff, and yet they keep using, then I feel like I failed them. But I didn't
Mm-hmm.
fail them. I gave them the tools. They chose not
Yeah.
to use them. So that
Right.
you just helped me right there. Like I feel like a weight lifted. I'm like, oh, I didn't fail those people. So thank
Right.
you.
Oh yeah, but the thing I want to share with you, I had to learn that. Okay. I mean, again, that's the benefit from being around people in recovery. They
Mhm.
would teach you how to sponsor. They would teach you how to deal with people, right? Because in the beginning, when I was sponsoring people, 'cause I'm real big on the 12 steps. Okay, I'm real big on that. And I had some people I sponsored. They wasn't trying to do the 12 steps. So I was getting y'all to forget you then. For real. But I had to call some people. They're like, look, you can't make these people do the 12 steps. But I thought, well, we're in a 12-step program.
Mhm.
Won't you do but you can't make it. They do the 12 steps when they ready to do the 12 steps. Yeah, and here's what the older members taught me. Your job is to remain available. So when they ready, they can come to you. I'm like, oh yeah, you just gotta be patient, right? So again, I had to learn that. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you shared that with me, because it really actually just lifted away, because like I just had um somebody I helped mother in-law come and say, "Oh, they're still using." And I'm like, "Oh, I feel like I failed this person, because I tried really hard to give them as much um support and tools and everything else." And then I hear that and I'm like, oh, I failed them, but I didn't, because they're not ready yet. it's like
Yeah.
because their family's the one that wants them to get sober. So their family's the one that reached out to me to talk to him. So it wasn't like he reached out to me. And so that like it's not like I just think he wasn't ready, but I felt like I failed him. But listening to you, that's the like you said, the benefit of the program is some like I only have 5 years of sobriety, so you're an elder in that situation to me, and you just taught me
Hmm.
something that will help me on my path of what I'm doing. So I really appreciate
Good.
that. I feel like okay, I didn't
Yeah.
kill him. Oh,
And that's
you
what we
know.
do. That's what we do. That's the whole purpose of recovery. We help each other. We help each other stay clean and sober, and we also help each other recover. Right. That's our
Mhm.
job.
Well, before I let you go, do you have any last tips or anything that you'd like to say to anybody? Like say before I let you go?
Yeah, yeah. My tip would be no matter what, right? No matter what, you're going through, whatever the addiction is, whatever your problem is, you just don't give up. No, you keep trying no matter what. Because if you stop trying, one thing I do know, you ain't gonna get it. I can guarantee you, if you stop trying to get it, you're not gonna get it. But if
Mhm.
you keep trying, we say it don't matter. You just keep trying, because one day you might hear something and make the light go off, and that's the hope shot to you. Never give up. Keep coming back, no matter what.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I am so happy that I got to talk to you today. I think that you're an incredible person and I think you're
Thank
doing
you.
incredible things. So I am so happy that I got to talk to you and even get a little advice from you as well.
Yeah,
So
you helped me too. Yeah,
so thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And
yeah.
for anybody who is struggling, it doesn't have to do with addiction. I definitely suggest you contact him because I guarantee you that he is going to be way better than a counselor and much more
Thank
compassionate
you.
than a lot of therapists or clinicians out there. So I
Thank you for the
appreciate.
kind words. Yeah,
I
and it
want.
was it was great to be here too. You helped me just as much as I help you. And that's what the whole thing is about. So I appreciate you reaching out to me.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, and I'm glad that I did reach out to you. So, thank you so much. I might, in a few months, connect again and see how things are going. And sometimes I bring people that I really like back, so I probably will bring you back if you're up for it, because
I'm for it.
I just think you have so much advice and wisdom to offer. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you as well.
Well, you have a good rest of your day, and I won't say goodbye. I'll say I'll talk to you later.
Okay. All right. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later. Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye bye.